In this video, you're watching another lesson on body systems. This lesson will talk about the nervous system and its importance to your life. So here we can see some of the key aspects of what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about the brain, the spinal cord, the peripheral nervous system, and the central nervous system, as well as nerves and how they work in a general sense. This system is probably the most complicated if you were to study it, but we're going to talk about it in a very simple way. So, what is the major organ of the nervous system? That's what we'll start with. Now, most of you will probably already know this. You use it every day in class. It is the brain. So, the brain is an extraordinarily complex organ and controls and manages almost all of the nerves functions in the body, right? Basically, who you are is this mushy meat in the middle of your skull. Who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your memories, your balance, your fear, your hormones, a lot of them, sort of just exist up in your head, right there. And so it is vital to survival, and its complexity is arguably the reason why we're so dominant on Earth as we speak. All right, so it is a fascinating and really interesting organ in our body. So, what is the purpose of the nervous system? Well, you might say to think, you might say to move, but in a general sense, the purpose of the nervous system is to control and protect the body. Control and protect the body, right? So the purpose of the nervous system is to control and protect the body. So, how does the nervous system control the body? Well, nerve cells that make up this system are connected to muscles and organs, muscles and organs, and send signals to control them. So here we have a bunch of nerves moving down, and they sort of branch out and connect to different muscle fibers. Now, if you've been studying the muscle part of the unit, you will know that skeletal muscles look like this. And it says that right here. And so the nerves will attach themselves to your muscle fibers, and they will send signals to control them. So when you move your arm, when you lift your arm up or walk or talk or do anything that requires movement, the nerves will send an electrical signal, down the nerves and to these muscles. What will happen is that this electrical signal will cause the nerves to contract or pull together, and as they pull together, they pull on your bones, they pull on your body. And so this is how your muscles help you move. This is how the nervous system controls your body. It's basically through a series of complex nerves that branch and attach to different muscles and cause them to pull things. So, the nerve cell. Nerve cells are the main type of cell that make up this system, the nervous system. You have the nucleus, right? And you have dendrites, and you have the axon. So the nucleus is your middle part right there, and that's the center part of the cell. And as we talk about cells later on, you'll know that the nucleus is the control center for cells. Then you also have the dendrites. The dendrites' jobs, these guys right here, these edges right here, their job is to get signals. So other nerves will attach or connect with these nerve cells through their dendrites. And the axon, well, its job is to send signals. So if we had a chain of nerve cells, a signal would be sent from here to the dendrite through the cell body, not through the nucleus, but that's an important part of the cell itself, but not through the nucleus, but then down through the axon and out through these endpoints. And then these endpoints will hit another axon, right? And then we'll have another cell here, and then it'll send its message through its axon. So it's sort of just like a big telephone wire connecting different nerve cells to different nerve cells. So the dendrite collects a signal, and the axon sends a signal, right? So axon away and dendrite is towards. So the nerve cell sends small electrical signals down through its axon and sends signals to control the muscles and organs, right? So the nerve cell sends small electrical signals down through its axon to send signals to control muscles and organs. So as we see here, this would be the axon of a motor neuron or a motor cell, nerve cell, and they branch out and they attach themselves to the muscle fibers, right? If this was another nerve cell or a series of nerve cells, then you'd have the axon connecting to a dendrite, sending another axon, and over again until it reaches the end point, right? So you got the nucleus, the dendrite, and the axon. And the nerves send electrical signals to the organs and muscles that need those signals in order to be able to move. So talking about nerves and controlling our body, there are two types of ways our bodies sort of move or control themselves. We have the reflex and the reaction, right? So pause the video and think about what is a reflex and what is a reaction, right? They are opposite each other, almost. So what is a reflex? You should know what a reflex is, and what is a reaction? A reflex is basically a movement you cannot control. You cannot control a reflex. So, for example, we have this person here, not so smart. He touches a cactus. Now, the cactus pricks his finger, and that's going to send a signal. Now, you have certain nerves that are like, oh, this is touch. So I'm going to send a signal when I feel something, and if something hurts, I'll send a strong signal. Well, it got hurt. So that nerve cell is sending a signal. It's going up. It goes into your spine. It goes into your spine. Now, normally, signals will go up the spine and into the brain, and the brain goes, what should I do? But that takes time. And if you get hurt, you don't want to spend time having your brain consider the pros and cons of having your finger on a cactus, right? That's not enjoyable. It's not a good thing. Your brain doesn't need to consider this. So what happens is it goes right through the spine because the nerve signal was so strong. It goes right down the spine and down through the motor neuron that connects to the muscle, the bicep. And your bicep's going to go, oh, got the signal, time to pull. Pulls on your bones and your finger is lifted, or your hand is lifted. A reflex does not require the brain, and a reflex is uncontrollable. You can train a reflex, but when it kicks in, you don't really think about it. And if you've ever burnt yourself on a stove, you probably burnt your hand, pull your hand away, then felt the pain. Then your brain has gone, ow, that hurts. Right? You pulled away long before your brain actually received the signal saying, that hurt. That's because the signal was so strong, it just went straight to the spine and to your muscles to pull away, right? You don't want to burn any more than you already are on a stove, so your body's going to pull away before your brain even gets any information. A reaction, on the other hand, is something you can control. Moving your hand around, waving your hand, walking, talking, these are reactions. This is your brain taking information, sending it down, and then making motion happen or making controls occur. And so a reaction is voluntary. You can control a reaction. A reflex is involuntary. You do not control it. So the nervous system also protects our body, right? We talked about this in the reflex, right? The nervous system is protecting our body by making the signal go straight to the muscle rather than to the brain. Rather than hurting yourself more here while your brain's figuring things out, your body's just going to go, your nervous system's going to go, let's just pull it. Let's just pull our hand. We'll figure it out later. In addition, our bodies protect ourselves using the senses: vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, right? If something dangerous is approaching, your nervous system attached to your senses will see it happen. Or they may hear danger, or they may smell danger. Or if you're eating an unknown food and it's poisonous, your taste receptors usually will taste something bitter, right? Will taste something bad and be like, that's not a good thing to eat. Or if you touch something, for example, with a reflex, your body will respond and try and protect itself. And that's how the nervous system protects you, right? Using these senses, signals are either sent to the brain or sent to muscles so that you can react or have a reflex appropriately so that the danger can be averted or any damage can be lessened, right? Just like with the reflex, you prick your finger, the signal does not get sent to the brain, gets sent straight through the spinal cord and right down to your muscles, and you pull away. With vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, a lot of these senses will go right to the brain. Your brain will consider it. Is whatever I'm seeing dangerous? Is whatever I'm hearing dangerous? Is what I'm smelling dangerous? Is what I'm tasting poisonous? And so your body and brain and your nerves will work together in order to protect yourselves. But it is the nervous system that is the front line for being able to protect your body, right? It's the front line. So how does the brain manage all this information? Well, the brain has different sections. You got the frontal lobe, right? You got the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe, right? And you got other parts, but this is the big brain part. This is the big part of your brain. Who you are, your personality, your likes, your dislikes, almost all of it is found in your frontal lobe. And your occipital lobe, well, that's more for vision. And I believe the parietal lobe is for memory, and temporal lobe works in tandem with the parietal lobe. I'm not too sure. I haven't reviewed this as well as I should have. But the frontal lobe is basically who you are. Occipital lobe is vision, and then you have your parietal and temporal lobe. And then you have your cerebellum down here. So, most of what we know about the brain is basically through accidents that have happened to people. One of the most famous cases is a man called Phineas Gage. And some of you may have heard of him or read him on Reddit. Basically, a lot of what we know from how the brain works, about how the brain works, is through accidents that have damaged the brain. This person, we learned that a lot of who we are comes from the frontal lobe because this human being had a metal pipe basically exploded through his skull. And it went right through his frontal lobe and out the other end, and it flew like, I think, 15 feet. And he survived. However, he went from being a really nice person to being someone who's really aggressive and angry all the time. And so they learned that the brain controls a lot of your personality and who you are because this person had a metal spike basically shoved straight through his skull because of an accident that happened. He survived for quite a while too, even though, again, he had a metal pipe shot through his skull. And it changed his personality. He became very unlikable, very mean, and very rude. So the nervous system can be divided into two parts. You have the central nervous system, and you have your peripheral nervous system. Central means middle, and basically it's made up of your brain and your spine. Your brain and spine. Brain and spine is your central nervous system, or CNS. Central nervous system. You also have your peripheral nervous system, P, right? Oh, it's not working for me. P and S. Wants to go down. There we go. P and S. Right? Your peripheral nervous system, and this is basically all your nerves, your sensory nerves, your motor nerves, these types of nerves that move out from your spinal cord, right? All your signals go from your peripheral nervous system into your spine and up through your central nervous system. And it can either go, if it's a reflex, into your spine and back out, or if it's a reaction or something that you're sensing, go into your spine and up to your brain. So the central nervous system, this is a combination of brain and spine. All nerve signals eventually make their way through the system. So again, a reflex, the motion, the motor neurons get fired before your brain gets that information, but eventually the feeling, the pain, the sensation of pricking your finger or burning your hand makes its way all the way up to your brain, right? So this is a combination of your brain and spine, and all nerve signals eventually make their way to your brain and through this system so that you can consider the information being sent, right? All nerve signals, anytime a nerve fires and sends a signal, it's sending information. And your brain sort of makes sense of that information. When we see something, our eyes pick up a sense, pick up light, right? And that light is then converted into nerve signals. And those nerve signals go right to our brain. And in our brain, it makes sense of what we see, and that's how we see. People can have damage to their occipital lobe, their vision part of their brain, and their eyes work just fine, and their eyes are still sending signals. But because that part of the brain was damaged, they can't see, or they can't see well. The peripheral nervous system, these are all the nerves that branch out from the central nervous system. They're all the ones that let you see, sense, move, taste, etc. These are all the nerves that are involved with the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system. So the nervous system is incredibly complicated, but what you really just need to know is central and peripheral nervous system. You need to know that the nervous system's job is to protect and control our body. You need to know the major organ is the brain, obviously, and you need to know the parts of the nerve cell, nucleus, dendrites, axons. Right? You don't necessarily need to know all the lobes of the brain. You'll learn that in high school, but it's a good thing to know. And you just need to know how the nerves work together with your muscular system and other systems that in a way in which that helps you move and control your body, control and protect your body. You need to know your nerves are involved with your senses as well. And so these are the kinds of things you need to know for this system. It's an oversimplified explanation of how it works. It's incredibly complicated, but we're just going to go over the basics so that you understand how important the nervous system is. So I'll see you next lesson.